This big xylophone is from Uganda. It's from the Ganda people, and it's called a Madinda. And as you see, it's played by two people at the same time, always in between each other, playing, interlocking, never play at the same time together. It's an instrument that I like to teach people first. Anyone must play this instrument. It teaches so much basic African rhythm. So it's a good starter's instrument, and it's an instrument which you can get a good sound on very quickly, even with a beginner. I'm Andrew Tracey.
And I'm Madiba.
We're standing in the International Library of African Music, and this is our collection of African musical instruments, mostly from Southern Africa. And a special part of this collection is the Madiba family. That's these instruments with little metal keys, all of these. And it's a complete collection. There are many, many, many different types of Madiba. I'll play some of them a bit. This is one called Karimba. It's from Mozambique. All sorts of different instruments here, all related to each other. This is a little tiny one from Malawi. This one's small enough to put in your pocket. Very good for traveling long distances.
Yeah. This one is Uhadi.
That one is a link with the first inhabitants of South Africa, the Khoisan people. They played bows, and it's very likely that most of our present-day South Africans learned the bows and adapted them.
From there.
That's the Xhosa one.
Okay.
Here's a nice piece of ivory. Not allowed these days, but this is a very old piece. It's a horn plate for chiefs in the Congo. It's got a little head on the end, and it's got a hole. You can change the note. Again, you can talk with two notes. I was trying to say Elijah. If you're aware of your name and the sound of your name, then you can.
Elijah. Okay.
Well, there's so many instruments here, but the Madiba collection is the most complete for Southern Africa. I don't think there's any types here which are missing. There's Khoi and San, there's mainly Shona, from Zimbabwe, very important instrument to them in Zimbabwe, and there's a few other examples from Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda.
And South Africa.
And of course, South Africa is just on the edge of the Imbira part of Africa. The Pedi people, the Venda, they play it.
Okay.
I think
We have other instruments.
you start.
Yes, 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 yes,
Very typical Southern African instruments. These are panpipes.
Yeah.
And if you play two panpipes, they don't play at the same time. They've got to play different times. I play.
And I play. Yes, 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 yes,
And then you have to dance, of course, with that. Sometimes we teach this here at International Library of African Music.
Yeah. Want to tell us a bit about how Ilam started?
Yes, this place began 60 years ago when my father, Hugh Tracey, founded it in Roodepoort near Joburg. He had been collecting music for a long time, and he had a huge collection of recordings, and he started this institute as a place, as a research center, where music could continue to be studied and publicized and records made and made known to the whole world. The world didn't know about what African music was in each part of Africa, but partly due to my father's work, it's now known what more or less what happens in almost every part of Africa. These panpipes are from Mozambique, for instance. And then eventually this library moved here to Rhodes University in Grahamstown when I became director then. And we've continued research into all sorts of performing traditions in Southern Africa, including jazz and popular music to some extent. But mainly the focus has always been on the traditional music of Africa, trying to find out what Africa's heritage really is.
Yeah, and now we're continuing with that, and one of the things that we are doing now is returning the recordings to the places where Hugh Tracey had recorded them, so that the people from those places can have a point of reference, if I should put it like that, and be able to have access to their own music and use it whichever way they want. So that's one of the projects that we're doing.
And another big project is what Elijah has been doing, which is digitizing the whole collection. The recordings go back to 1929, which were on disc, and then we went through tape and everything else. But now the whole collection is digitized. It's all available on the internet, on the Ilam website.
Yeah, and you can even find it on iTunes now.
Yes, give a good start. This is a talking drum, because as you see, I was talking. You can get very close to the sound of an African language with these sounds. Elijah, tell me your full name, Elijah.
Elijah Moliseng Madiba. Yeah.
I expect you to come if I say this on the drum.
Yeah. And where does that drum come from?
That one's from Nigeria.
Nigeria.
Yeah, Yoruba people.
Okay.
Now you've got another instrument there, closer instrument.
Inkinge, or Mkhube.
That's a very low-tech instrument, very simple to make, not quite so easy to play.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me play one of these other mbiras. This one's been a great success all around the world in the last 40 years. It's got these heavy metal keys on it, and you play it with 2 thumbs and 1 finger. This is not just a casual instrument, it's an important spiritual, ritual instrument in Zimbabwe. And he's going to play a bit of harp.
He's a Kundi harp from Uganda. Yeah.
We've always put a lot of emphasis on performance, on playing instruments and understanding how they're played, what is actually done when Africans play their instruments. So that's what I've spent a lot of time on. Elijah's also playing instruments too. And we teach students, and we like to get in performers and musicians who come from outside and teach here, expert musicians. Well,